the system is the thing that has worked the most for me. So if I'd started with a number, I potentially would have paid him at least double what he was actually wanting.
We saved you £100,000 and we saved you potentially from doing a deal that wasn't going to work.
It works, and you can get sound businesses that will give you that cash flow coming in every month. Through a property network, I ended up watching this young man on...
Well, now that has not happened for a long time, like 20 years. That's wonderful. And we got that on video, by the way.
We got that on video.
Yeah, that will be on LinkedIn next week.
So I started listening, and as much as I was in the commercial team and I was part of the acquisitions once the wholesaler had done them, where I was walking into the businesses, I was telling the staff, watching the shock on their face and all the rest of it, that they'd just been taken over, it never dawned on me that I could actually acquire businesses, which is really daft, because I was already doing it in some ways. And then you were explaining how you do the buy, the build, the sell strategy. And then I had one of those Tom and Jerry moments where the pound signs just come up in your eyes and you think, flippin' heck, I could do this. And that, I just signed up straight away. I'm not a hang-arounder. I don't need to know everything perfectly. So the system was get a database, send letters, use the discovery call to respond, when people are phoning you in, decide what sort of businesses you want to go and see. So within, I would say probably a month, 6 weeks, I was already in that process. I didn't hang around because I thought I've only got a year, maximize what I'm going to do. Driving across to the northeast and knew how much money they were making. At that stage, I wasn't absolutely sure about multiples. So I'm thinking, my God, what if he wants 3 times? We're looking at 400 grand. Where am I going to come up with that? Because I hadn't got to that part of the conversation yet. But there was Jonathan in the back of my head. So when we turned up, we walked around the business and I said, so what do you need? Not what do you want, but what do you need? So I've got this big figure in my head and he goes, 200 grand all in. So if I'd started with a number, I potentially would have paid him at least double what he was actually wanting. And it was such a good deal that I'm thinking, I can do that. I'm sure I could do that. No idea where I get the money from, but I can do that. And then he said, but I need it all up front. And that's when I started having a wee bit of a car crash, be fair to say. I thought, well, 135,000, even if I only made 100,000, I could borrow that and off we go. So it's not an issue. But it was an issue because I would be giving him all of the money and I would be taking all of the risk. So if things came, it was a share purchase, if things came out the woodwork, then I would have no deferred to be able to go, well, actually, that is a bill there that you should have sorted. I've got no money left to withdraw that from, if that makes sense, on a deferred. So came back all excited, went to the next mastermind, stood in front of everybody, went, ta-da, look what I've done. And Jonathan's like, you've done what?
Is this where you're going to put your own money in?
Well, yes, because then I went to this broker and the broker said 200,000 on that business, not a problem whatsoever. It went off to their lawyers. Their first lawyer took 3 months to decide they couldn't do it. They went to a second lawyer. We ended up in a situation where my lawyer was actually emailing them what they needed to email to us because they hadn't gone to a proper M&A lawyer. And then the finance guy turned around and said, I can only do half of it. So I went back and I thought, do you know what? I do have something I can use. So I'm going to put the rest of the money in myself because I'm so confident I can get the money back out within a fairly short time frame. Came back to the mastermind, shared that with everybody. So Jonathan decided to get the entire room, so if you can imagine this number of people and a few more, to vote on whether I should do the deal or I shouldn't. And guess what 100% of the room said? Don't do it. Don't put your own money in.
And if I can just interrupt, this is a great example of when you are doing something in isolation, then you can make decisions that unless you've got a sounding board to sense check against, you would do that you wouldn't. So we saved you £100,000 and we saved you potentially from doing a deal that wasn't going to work. But if you'd been by yourself, you might well have just gone ahead. But having the sounding board of the group meant that you had a second opinion, third opinion, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh opinion. Buying a business is just so rewarding. And I put together a free training showing you exactly how I do it. If you look in the video description below this video, there is a link. You click the link, you're taken through to the training, watch the training, and I'll show you exactly how to buy a business successfully.
Several heads of terms later, I get a phone call in January last year, and a guy had received my letter for the 4th time. So you don't just send these out once to the one person, you send them again and potentially again. And it just landed at a time when he'd had a deal fall through to sell his business. He was really cheesed off. He thought he would try me, and we had this conversation. Took a while to get to heads of terms, but then we completed in 7 weeks. So it's only a small business, 300,000 turnover, 60 grand net profit, but it was cash flowing and it was a start.
How would you say you've changed from, I guess, when we first met to now by doing that deal in the middle?
I think there's a couple of things. That deal was good to get over the line. It's about 4 hours from where I live, so I have to work on it, not in it. The deals that I've got on the go at the moment, I've got a 750,000 one, I've got a 2 million turnover one. So I know how the structure of the expenses should look because I've analysed so many deals now, but they have to go bigger. I can't do another one of this.
So even though the first one was a small one, it got you out of that I've never done this before to I've done it.
Yes.
You're now mixing with the inner circle people, so that's a whole different raising your game. But also you've got a breadth of experience in that sector that means that your diligence around other businesses is smarter and more efficient. And you're probably wondering why you did that size of business when now you realise that actual fact it could have been the 3/4 or the 2 or whatever.
It would have been much better to do the bigger ones because they take just as much time and energy, and I would be in them possibly not even as much as I am now. Well, in the last week, I have now turned down 2 businesses that I analysed. One because the margins were too tight. It was a trade counter rather than a shop, and I thought, it only takes a little bit to go wrong and I've lost the whole thing. And the other one was a lady who phoned me up who I spoke to over a year ago who said, take my business. She was having some problems with PAYE, VAT. She'd got herself into a mess. That business had been on the go since 1882. I've projected cash flow. I can't get it to flow positively.
So this is interesting because would we have had this conversation a year ago? Would you have been so analytical about this?
I probably wouldn't. I probably would have been sitting there going, take it, take it, take it, and be a motivated buyer. Whereas now I have the other shoulder, Jonathan, going, stop it, stop it.
So I don't ever appear negative at all, but we've always got to get a balance right, haven't we? Because you've got to buy the right business in the right circumstances, in the right way, because otherwise it doesn't work later. You know, you don't just want the euphoria of buying any business for the sake of it.
Learning a system that works and knowing that when you actually follow the system and you decide not to go off the rails, it works and you can get sound businesses that will give you that cash flow coming in every month. Then there's the camaraderie. Our mastermind group stayed on for another year because we were enjoying ourselves that much that we meet together once a month and then we go out for dinner or drinks or whatever, and most of us will be on the boat tomorrow. You know, having that social time as well. But then you've got a network of people who are all supportive, who want you to succeed.
When buying a business, you need a great lawyer on your team. So why not use mine? His name is John Andrews and his details are on the screen.
So as much as I came here to meet everybody and share a bit of my journey today, this is also about what I'm learning. So I've got 2 pages of notes from yesterday. And the guys that have done so well, and I'm thinking in the same time frame, what have I actually achieved? And focus was a very strong word from yesterday. So maybe on my M&A group, I've been taking that too much as party and not so much accountability and actually working.
Yeah. So can I just draw in one sentence really what you've said is that you never know it all.
Absolutely. Every session that I go to, I've always got my notebook, always take notes, and then I review them afterwards. And one of the other things I really love is that if one of us gets stuck on something and we're sharing it with the group, then Jonathan will just come out with a series of sentences that you just think, that's flipping marvellous. And then you have to go back through the videos and actually write down what he's actually said. But again, you likened it to the toolkit, the tool bag yesterday. Every time we go, I end up with a new tool within that bag. So next time I go and see a seller, I'm finding out why they want to sell. So what are they running from, or what are they wanting to get towards? And then how do I structure my conversation so that it actually mirrors what they want to do? So we actually had our discovery call. We've got it on our computer system. So my husband can do it, I can do it. If the business is big enough and profitable enough.
So this is my structure.
Yes.
This is my templated system.
Yeah. So if it's big enough, then we'll ask for accounts and go to the next level. If it's not big enough or it doesn't fit our criteria, like they're the only person that works in it, then we will gently say it's not for us and move on. So we're already sifting at that stage. Spookily enough, that's the system. Have I mentioned the system yet today, Jonathan?
Does it work?
I think it might, if you stick to it.